Mall of America. It's home to world-class shopping, great dining, and amazing attractions and events. And these are our stories, presented by Bloomington, Minnesota Travel and Tourism.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of So Much More. I'm your host, Dan Jasper. Excited to have you here. I have a very special guest with me today, Will Bernhjelm, somebody that I've known a long time, and he's actually worked here at Mall of America longer than I have. Mall of America is a big place. It's 33 years old. We have 32 million annual guests, 520 stores, tons of attractions. We have a lot of people here, and it's really important that we keep this building safe and fun and family-friendly, and that is where Will and his team come in. Will is our Vice President of Security for Mall of America, and he has a really interesting story, and I can't wait for him to share that with you and share some of how we keep this building safe. Will, how you doing?
I'm good, Dan. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, glad you're here. You have a really interesting background. We've both been here a long time. I know you've been here 23 years.
Correct.
I've been here 21 years. We've seen a lot of things in our time, but you have an interesting journey, how you got to Mall of America. Can you share a little bit about your background, how you got this job, and kind of how it's evolved?
Absolutely. So my dad was a police officer for over 40 years, and very early on in high school, I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and I wanted to be a police officer. So when I graduated high school, I went to college to become a cop. And in my sophomore year, I joined the Minnesota Army National Guard. And that was a great experience. But then I continued my college journey. And when I graduated, it was a super competitive time for law enforcement jobs. Yep. I mean, we're talking 400 to 500 applicants for one or two spots.
Wow.
And so I was applying and I was getting close, but I wasn't getting quite where I wanted to. I wasn't crossing that hurdle to actually get hired. And it's actually because of a police job I didn't get that I ended up here.
Okay.
So I came in second out of 500 applicants for one job.
Okay.
And I was just devastated with that. I was so disappointed and really bummed out. And so I actually went back and I talked to the chief from that department. I said, "Hey, chief, like I'm getting close, but I'm not quite there yet. What can I do to make myself a better applicant?" And she said, "Look, it's a really competitive market. You're young. I think you just need a little more experience." I said, "Great. Where can I get that?"
Yep.
Because the college loans are due. I need a full-time job and I need real-world experience. And she said, "I think you should go to Mall of America. They run a tight ship and I think it'd be good for you." So I literally left that interview with the chief, drove to Mall of America, picked up my application, and 6 weeks later I was hired and as a patrol officer.
Okay.
And I worked for about a year as a patrol officer and absolutely loved it. I loved everything about the mall, the unique environment, the dynamic environment, the training, just the amount of interactions that we had on a daily basis. It was incredible. About a year in, like I said, I got deployed with the National Guard to Kosovo. Yep. So I did that deployment for about a year. Then I came back to the mall. And I worked for about another year in as a patrol officer. And then I got deployed to Iraq. So I did a 2-year deployment to Iraq. And I came back from that deployment. And I felt differently than I had before about my passion for law enforcement. I just didn't feel like I had the same drive and the same passion that I once had for it.
Okay.
And that was pretty difficult to wrap my head around because for as long as I could remember, I wanted to be a police officer, and all of a sudden I didn't. And when I came back from Iraq, I was lucky enough to be promoted into a supervisory role in the training department. And I was like, well, now what with my life? And I was like, well, I'll figure it out along the way. I don't know if I want to do this for the rest of my life, but I will figure it out, and I'll work here in the meantime. And, 20-some years later, here we are.
I love that. And I think there's a couple of really cool lessons there, too. One is you were young. It was a tough job market, not unlike today, right? And rather than giving up, you went to the person and said, "I'm really close. What do I got to do?" And that person gave you some good advice, which was essentially, don't give up. Here's a place you can get experience. I think that's a good lesson for people out there today, right?
It's a great lesson. And I have that chief and my dad, who was the one who really pushed me to go back because he was a chief at the time. And so having his perspective was certainly very helpful, but he encouraged me to make a meeting with her and go back and talk to her about what I could do to improve. And I'm so very thankful and grateful that she took that meeting.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And it's wonderful that she was willing to do that and be a mentor, right?
For sure.
And that's a role that I happen to know that you've played for a long, long time to a lot of young people as well. So thanks for sharing that gift, pushing that forward. I happen to know, because I know you so well and we've worked together and talked together, that your time in service in Iraq helped your love or your passion for training. And that kind of shaped what you did once you got back here in that supervisory role. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I was an infantry guy in the National Guard, and in my Iraq deployment specifically, we were stationed in Baghdad and doing patrols every single day in and around Baghdad. And every single day, we did over 400 combat missions over there. Every day was different. Before every single mission, though, we did some level of training. It wasn't necessarily a super complicated, complex PowerPoint type of presentation, more so like sitting in the motor pool, briefing the mission, and then quizzing everybody what they were going to do for that day. What was the route? What was the mission? What are we going to do today? If this happens, what's your job? If this happens, what are you going to do? What's your role if this happens?
Yeah.
And we hammer that into them every single mission. Again, you'd think by like the 250th time to be like, okay, noted, I got it.
Got it, yeah.
Right? Like, been there. But we didn't. Every single day, we hammered that into them. And when something did happen, everybody just reacted. Nobody questioned it. People just moved because of that training.
Yep.
And so when I came back, I kind of brought those core principles back with me into the training department. I expanded the training from 2 weeks to 3 weeks, expanded the field training process from 3 weeks to 8 to 12 weeks, which is obviously a significant jump in level of training. But I understood that our officers needed to have the right tools in their toolbox to go out and be successful, because we expect a lot out of our officers, and we expect them to go out and handle calls and appropriately and think outside the box and be creative and problem solve. And the way that we can equip them the right way to do that is through training.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that we did. We're not an observe and report staff. We are out there handling calls, pretty much anything and everything that the mall can throw at them.
Yep.
And in order for them to be successful, I really kind of dug my heels in on the training piece and expanded that.
I love that. And it also, some of the lessons you learn there are applicable to any group, any team, any leader, which is continue to train, continue to be prepared, give your team the tools and the authority, empower them to make good decisions, right, without questioning themselves, and just everyone knowing their role, right? I mean, those are what I'm hearing, and I know you and your team. And I think if any team does that, you're going to be so much more successful. So those are great lessons you brought back. An average mall, we are not an average mall, by the way. We're so much more than a mall. An average mall, and this is not to make light of the fact or anything, but their training is pretty minimal, right? You kind of mentioned a little bit, but our training is how many weeks long for our officers, and then there's specialties beyond that?
For sure. It's roughly 3 months of training, or 500 hours before our patrol officers take a call by themselves, unsupervised. Which is
amazing.
Absolutely unheard of in retail and in private security as a whole. I guarantee that nobody has a training program like ours in the entire country.
Yeah, which is amazing. It's a huge investment. It's an investment in money. It's an investment in time, but it is an investment well worth it. And it shows in the level of professionalism within your team, which I've seen so many times over the time. Let's talk a little bit about the different roles within your team. You have a lot of people that specialize in different areas. Can you share some of those with me?
Sure. So our strategy is kind of based on, you kind of mentioned some of the unique characteristics of the mall. Like, we are not just a mall.
Yep.
We have 32 million people. We have 500 tenants, 11,000 employees.
Yeah.
A hotel, or excuse me, two hotels, an office tower, an indoor amusement park, Minnesota's busiest transit center that's attached to us.
Yeah.
Like, we are way more than just a mall. So people often ask, well, how do you protect it then? And my answer has always been like Swiss cheese.
Yep.
Like, which doesn't seem to make a ton of sense, right?
I love it.
But
Sure.
the way that we, if you think about it, like, there's no such thing as 100% security in this world. That doesn't exist. If there was one thing out there that would keep everybody safe all the time, no matter what, we'd all be doing it, and I would probably not have a job.
Yeah. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
But that's not the reality of our world. So what we've done is we've taken this layered approach, understanding that each layer, and you think of our department as different layers, right?
Sure.
So that's some of our highly visible layers, like our patrol officer group, our parental escort officer group, our canines. Those are the highly visible layers, right? And then you layer in the non-visible layers, like our intelligence analysts, the Bloomington Police LPR cameras, the dispatchers, the training, all this stuff that goes into it, our traffic unit. Like, all of these things work together. Again, highly visible, non-visible, highly proactive, highly reactive. Like our undercover behavior detection team, again, is a good example of our non-visible but highly proactive layer. In the most recent years, we've kind of layered in various technology as well to help us accomplish a mission. And a lot of that stuff, again, it's non-visible. You don't see it when you come to the mall,
but it's
there.
Yep.
And it's most of it's proactive, but some of it's also reactive too, right?
Sure.
So again, understanding that all of these layers or slices of cheese have a vulnerability or a hole.
Sure.
Our approach is then to layer all of them on top of one another, with the idea of all of these, or lessening the chances of all of these holes lining up at once.
Smart.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the approach we've taken.
I love it. You have, and I can picture that sandwich, right, with like 35 pieces of Swiss cheese. It's a safe place. Let's just talk about a couple of your specialized units, and then we'll talk a little bit about technology. Time flies when we're on these podcasts. A couple that I find really unique are we have our bike officers. Talk a little bit about them, because last week it was really cold in Minnesota. It was really, it was like 15 below, maybe 30 below wind chill. Were they outside?
They were indeed. That is a hardy group. I will tell you that. We have a group that's dedicated to patrolling the exterior of the building, and these are our bike officers. They patrol outside on bicycles year-round, which, as you mentioned, that's no small feat in Minnesota.
No.
Especially when it's minus whatever, which it feels like half the year.
Yep.
But these folks are out there cruising around, making sure people are staying safe in the parking lots and the ramps. They're looking for anything suspicious, any suspicious people. They're also helping people find their cars.
Yes.
There is a ridiculous amount of people that lose their cars
because we have two giant ramps that look alike.
Correct. So we often get called, people thinking that their car was stolen when in fact it's in the opposite ramp.
Yeah.
So there is certainly a guest service function for these bike officers to go and help folks.
And another thing I love about your team is they're all trained in guest service as well. They know how to interact with guests in a professional way, in a pleasant way. Canine. What about our canine team?
That's definitely everybody's favorite
it's
visible
fun, right?
layer. It's fun. Everybody loves the dogs.
Yep.
We have 8 explosive detection and they're dual purpose explosive detection and person-borne firearm detection teams on staff. Person-borne firearm detection is something that we added in 2023. And it was really industry leading at the time. And you're starting to see it expand a little more in the canine world, but I'll still say it's industry leading, especially in the retail setting. But this group is highly dedicated. They are phenomenal at what they do. They're all certified through the United States Police Canine Association, which is the same certification that our law enforcement partners go through. In fact, we just hosted a certification a couple weeks ago with our law enforcement partners, and so we're going through it together with them. Yep. As you might imagine, with all the things we have going here, we are a highly sought-after training site, and we have incredible relationships with other police departments that want to come here and train, and it's a great asset to have. But they are out there every single day, walking the floor with their canine partner, interacting with the guests, taking calls. They average around 4 to 5 calls a day per team, which is a lot.
Yeah.
And then everybody always wants to know, so what happens with the dogs at the end of the day? We do have a kennel facility here, but at the end of the day, the dog goes home with the handler, and they become part of the family when they're not at the mall.
Yeah, I love that. One officer, one dog. Let's talk perhaps the unit that's most commonly seen, which is our patrol officers. They play an incredible role here at Mall of America. They're kind of like a beat cop.
Pretty much. I mean, they're walking out there every single day, again, proactively patrolling, but also reactively responding to calls as they come up. But they are kind of the face of the department. They make up the lion's share of the officers because they respond to the lion's share of the calls. This group is highly trained, and they are responding to pretty much anything and everything.
Well, and the cool thing that I love about them too is they develop relationships. The tenants, the employees, they all get to know these officers. So there's a real trust relationship built there too.
Absolutely. And, with Bloomington Police having an on-site unit as well, it's great because their officers are dedicated mall officers. So it's not like they're out patrolling the city and then just taking calls here. It's a dedicated group of officers that works the mall every day. So our officers get to know them. They get to know us. It really helps that working relationship.
And we can't hit on every unit, just say we have so many specialized units within your team that are so highly trained and play and such a critical role here. Let's touch base really quickly on a couple of the technologies we have here. We talked about the LPR, the license plate readers. That's actually, I believe, operated by the city of Bloomington, by Bloomington Police, in our ramps. But how does that interact and how does that help us?
Sure. You're right. Bloomington Police owns and operates the LPR cameras that are on the vehicle gates. But that helps us identify vehicles that might be wanted, might have certain alerts on them as they enter the property. And as they enter the property, we get a very quick notification from the police saying, hey, this vehicle entered the property. We work together then. Again, we have an amazing camera system here. They can actually see what we're watching as well, the police department, so we can find the vehicle. Help find the vehicle anyway, and then help coordinate response.
That's amazing. I love if a bad guy, and I'm just going to call him that, a bad guy happens to bring a stolen vehicle here, it is not unusual for us, your team and Bloomington Police, to apprehend those people as they're exiting their vehicle, right?
Correct.
And I think that's a really good message to send all the bad guys out there. We only have a couple minutes left, but I want to touch base. There's a new technology recently your team implemented, facial recognition. It's kind of scary. It's not a typical what people think. Not everyone, they can't know who you are. Explain how that works and share one example of how it's been successful.
Sure. Our use of facial recognition technology has been groundbreaking in the industry. It has garnered a lot of attention, not only because of our use of it, but the responsible way that we're using it and the proactive way we're communicating that we're using it. We're not ashamed of it. We're not hiding behind it. We're letting everybody know, there's giant signs as you come into the mall, facial recognition technology in use. We brought in media when we launched. If you go to the website, if you go to mallofamerica.com/FRT, there's a whole dedicated website to show exactly how we're using it. To your point, Dan, we're not able to figure out who people are. Our system doesn't operate that way. We're looking for basically 4 categories of people. That's people on a trespass, people made known to us by law enforcement, those who may be a threat to our environment, and those missing or in danger. Those are the only 4 categories of people that we're looking for. And so when somebody walks in the building, it's scanning faces, and it's saying, are you on that list of those 4 categories, yes or no? If yes, our team gets notified. And if no, that data is gone. We're not storing any of that data.
So I walk in, I have nothing to fear, right?
Correct.
Right?
As long as you're not on that list.
I'm anonymous to that system.
Correct. And spoiler alert, most of the people on a trespass know that they're on a trespass. So we don't get a ton of inquiries of people wondering, and we do have that option. For people to find out if they're on the list. But we don't get a ton of inquiries there. But you're right. If you're not on that list, you're anonymous to the system. It just cares if you're on that 4-category list. That's it.
Early on, there's one quick story I'd love for you to share. Early on, the system had been implemented. It's highly, highly accurate. But a family came. Can you share that? You knew which story I'm talking about, I think.
I do. So I mentioned that we were very public in our launch. And in day 1, somebody had flagged in the system that was on a trespass. And as we were walking that gentleman out, one of their family members had made a comment of I guess that facial recognition is real, huh? And we were like, well, okay, how did you hear about it? And she said, well, I saw it on Facebook. That's a great story. And the system has been incredible at helping us identify some of our common retail crime committers. We've with that system, we've driven down theft, disorderly conduct, and disturbance calls by over 23%.
That's amazing.
In a year and a half. It's absolutely incredible. And it helps us identify these folks as they get in the building so they don't have a chance to reoffend. We get them out.
It's so effective, and it's been such a good tool for us, and it's keeping people safer.
Absolutely,
right?
it is.
And it's keeping the property safer. And I'd like to close really quickly with, we both have families, right? In fact, I happen to know that you met your wife working here at Mall of America, and she's awesome. But that's also why we keep this building safe, right?
It is. I often tell people that I have an oddly personal connection to this building. Like, obviously, it's my professional connection, but there is a very personal connection as well. Like, the mall opened when I was in high school. I grew up coming here. I grew up just west of here in Chanhassen.
Yep.
And I would come to the mall all the time in high school. I loved it. And eventually it became my career. And like you said, then I met my wife here.
Yep.
And I met some of my lifelong friends here. And now we have kids, and we bring our kids here. And my coworkers bring their kids here. My neighbors and other family members bring their kids here. And that matters. Their safety is deeply, deeply personal to me. And making sure that they feel protected and safe while they're coming to the mall, like, that matters to me. And that's why I have this personal investment in this facility.
Well, I love that. And I know that that is a sentiment that is shared by your entire team as well. So, Will, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for keeping this building safe. And when I say you, I mean your entire team.
Yes.
Because I know many of them, and they are just awesome, awesome, dedicated people. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We hope you found this information really helpful. Come on, bring your friends down here, your family. This place is safe, it's fun, and a large part of that is due to Will and his team. So thank you for joining us today, and we hope you'll like, follow, and join us for more.
Thanks for listening to So Much More, a Mall of America podcast. Subscribe wherever you find your favorite podcasts. This show is presented by Bloomington, Minnesota Travel and Tourism.